Sufficient evidence to remove Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif from his post over corruption allegations. The court instead referred the case to a joint investigative team. The team is set to probe the Sharif family's financial dealings and transactions, as it was stated in secret information leaked last year. Charges against Sharif were related to documents from the Panama-based law firm Mossack Fonseca. Based on the papers, Nawaz Sharif's daughter and two of his sons had secret offshore dealings and accounts. The Sharif family has refused the allegations, saying its wealth has been acquired legally through vast family businesses. Pakistan's opposition argues that the Prime Minister has to prove his family was not engaged in money laundering. Well, to get the latest on that, we're now joined by JAVED RANA, Press TV's correspondent, who is joining us live now from the Pakistani capital. JAVED, do we know what this joint investigative team will be comprised of, when it'll start its work?
I think just within next week, 7 days, it is going to start its work. And more importantly, I think there is going to be a lot of pressure from the opposition parties to come up with some sort of independent members from the civilian government, the National Accountability Bureau, the Federal Investigating Agency, and more importantly, I think the court has made it a point to bring officials from military-run intelligence agencies, which means the ISI and MI, the military intelligence. I think it's going to be a very, very tough time for the Prime Minister to face probe, particularly from the officials of the military and ISI, and they may not be as much friendly to him as have been the other officials from the investigating agencies, about whom the court today has noted that in fact they were biased and they were reluctant to investigate, start investigation against the Prime Minister and his family. Now all eyes are on this investigating team, but more importantly, the judgment itself, it is very important to note, has not acquitted Prime Minister. Two judges have said that they don't need any further investigation and the Prime Minister stands disqualified, while the three judges said no, still further investigation is required. But nonetheless, the very contents of the judgment, the text of the judgment, very strong language has been used. All the evidence that the Sharif family came up with, including a letter from the Qatari prince to prove his innocence, the court has already rejected them. So it is going to be very, very tough time for the Prime Minister to save himself from this ongoing political mess that the country seems to be coming in. Very importantly, I think now there are many people, particularly opposition parties, are raising question that on moral ground, Sharif must resign. That is their demand. The government, initially they said it is their victory, but now Prime Minister has been advised that the judgment is very harsh and there are going to be serious legal and constitutional consequences for the Prime Ministers in coming days and weeks.
JAVED, we have about a minute left. I wanted to ask you, do you think people are already prepared to have the Prime Minister step down? Because that would bring in a period of political instability again. And, you know, Pakistan hasn't had exactly the best track record with democracy.
Well, I think as long as the democratic system continues, there is nothing wrong because Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif is no longer as popular as he used to be because of the fact that there have been power outages, something they promised with the people of Pakistan. And then opposition has launched a campaign in the past, and I think that has also worked, which really raised serious questions of his credibility. And today's judgment also hints of raising very serious question about his credibility. I think it could possibly cost him next elections, depending in what manner the opposition parties are going to launch campaign against him.
All right, JAVED, we'll leave it at that. But of course, as always, we appreciate your reporting. North threatened the United States with a, quote,